must start our meeting. Call the meeting to order. And Mr. Rosick, would you like to say the prayer this evening?
Sure. As we come together tonight for the city of Waterville, we pause to ask you to be with us and guide our way. May your spirit of peace surround all we say and do this evening. We ask for your strength to do what is best for the good of Waterville. Lord God, as servants of your people, we pray that you grant us a share of your wisdom. Amen.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mrs. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mayor Brody?
Here.
Mr. Rosick?
Here.
Mr. Pedro?
Here.
Mrs. Duncan?
Here. Thank you. Next, we have approval of minutes, our regular council meeting, October 8th, 2018. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second. Does anybody have any corrections or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have citizens' comments. Do we have our reporter, and our treasurer, and our finance director? No? All right. Move on. Next, we'll move to staff reports. We have our administrator, Mr. Bagdonis.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members have a copy of my report. Just like to call your attention to the fire chief's retirement. He'll be retiring as of November 30th. His letter's in your packet. And also, just like to remind you that our next meeting will not be on the usual day. It'll be on Tuesday, November 13th, and we moved that due to the Veterans Day holiday. That's the next regular meeting. Of course, we have a special meeting tomorrow night.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Bagdonis?
Packets will still come on Friday.
Yes.
All right.
So be
seeing
sure to
none.
remind us again on that Friday.
Yeah.
Put a big note in that
We'll
packet.
yellow highlight the day on the agenda.
Mr. Dombey?
No report tonight, Your Honor.
Our finance director, Mr. Gokenauer, has got a report.
Evening. Council has a copy of my report, the September 2018 finance report. We ended the month of September with an ending balance of $6,604,160. Our investment income at the end of September was $37,879. We have our reader reports enclosed for September and October. September, the city collected $202,810, which was about $14,350 less than September of 2017. October's collection was a $327,996, and that was approximately $18,608 more than we received in October of 2017. The city year-to-date has collected $2,976,365. So we're up about 85, 86% of what we budgeted in terms of revenue. We only have 2 months left of collections, so we're getting pretty close to the end of the year, and we have a really good shot at hitting our goal, which was our budgeted goal for income tax was $3,467,855. So we'll see how it goes, but I think it'll be very close. That we should come pretty close to getting our target for 2018. And then the Finance Committee had the opportunity to look at the 5-year capital for 2019, and they recommended bringing it forward to council for your consideration, not approving it or anything, just recommending that it be presented to council at your next meeting, which again is Tuesday, November 13th. And then we will be having another Finance Committee meeting for the operating budget for 2019, and that is November 16th of next month.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gokenauer? All right. Thank you. Next, we have our treasurer, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Relatively brief report this evening. As Mr. Gokenauer mentioned, through September, we're at about $6,604,000 approximately. And if you look at the balance of all funds this year and last year, you'll see we're trending exactly where we were last year, which basically means that we kind of keep going up through August. We kind of peak out in August, and we start paying bills. So you'll see that we've gone down a little bit in September. If you look at the general fund, you'll see the general fund went down a fair amount, but that's primarily because we took $200,000 transferred capital fund in the Parks and Recreation Fund. So it makes sense as to why the general fund went down in September. When you look at the capital fund, you'll see we're up about 100, but again, remember we transferred money into the fund, so we've actually started paying down some, capital improvement projects. One was the salt storage building we've made a big payment on in September. Then you can see the water and sewer fund is holding pretty good right now. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions? All right,
Thank you.
thanks. Next, we have communication from council. I'll start with Mr. Bruno.
No report tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Mrs. Bruno.
No report, Mayor.
Mr. Fry.
No report this evening.
All right, Mr. Rosie.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to comment that I and my family attended the open house at the fire department a couple Saturdays ago, and it was very nice. I'm always impressed with the fire department, how you can almost eat off the floors, Tim, and all the equipment shines.
Well, Barb and I are over there every Sunday washing the floor. I just want you to know that.
So it was very nice. We had a nice tour. My two grandsons were there, and they really enjoyed. One of the EMTs gave us a nice tour of all the equipment. So it was very, very nice. I thought it was well attended. So kudos to the fire chief and his staff.
Thanks. Mr. Pedro.
Just to echo that, I did also attend the fire department's open house on the 13th, and I thought it was well attended. I was there early in the morning, and a couple of volunteers were there, getting equipment ready, and it's pretty impressive that stand underneath that ladder truck when you're underneath it. That's huge. And I saw some young people coming in, and all the firefighters that were there and the rescue folks did a nice job of talking to the kids, so that was good. And then this past Saturday, I know a few of us, including Barb, we attended the police coffee with police on Saturday at Chowders. Very well attended from the police standpoint. A couple of our staff, along with the chief of White House and one of his lieutenants, along with Lucas County and Waterville Township. So it was well attended on the police side. I think maybe next time we'll try and get some more folks that want to be invited to that. It was very well organized, so thanks to the chief for that. Thirdly, just remind the council on coming up in November, as soon as my little new toy opens up, the Waterville Economic Development Corporation is having their annual meeting on November the 30th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Fallen Timbers Battlefield. I think you all have received an invite, but just to remind you of that event.
November 8th, is it?
Excuse me?
November 8th?
November the 8th, Thursday, after the election. And then the other thing, I've been tasked, and I accepted the boo to do for council on Thursday night. I'm looking forward to that. And then I know we will meet after Veterans Day, but I just would like us to pause at some time in the council meeting today to recognize veterans who fought for our country. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Pedro. Mrs. Duncan.
No report this evening.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on to old business. We have a discussion, the possible formation of a Union Cemetery District with Waterville Township and the Village of White House. And we have that meeting tomorrow. And a reminder, it's at White House Council Chambers. It's at 6:30. So make sure you're there at 6:30, not 7:30. And we'll go about our discussion. I did hand you a map. I met this week, last week, with the sexton that they use, which is Richard Ludwig, who gave us some of the previous data we have. He provided me this map of the cemetery, and then he went over quite a bit of what they've got. So if you pull your map out, just to give you a little info, the typed numbered page, that is the original plat of the cemetery. And that is filled, except there are plats which are purchased, and to make it more complicated, within a plat, or a plot, maybe I should call it a plat, they can have 8 spaces, but some of them on the newer section are smaller and they can have 4 spaces. So in the old days, what I think happened, obviously a lot of families bought one and had several spots. So although there are no new ones to sell on the oldest part of the cemetery, there are spots where someone could be buried because they have not been buried yet. And I asked him, do we know how many there are? And he said, no, I'm not sure. So that was a little confusing. I don't know what that would take to figure that out. I don't know that there's a lot if you've driven through there. Those are the very old graves and some, yeah. So I'm not thinking that's huge, but just so you know, that's full. Then move to his numbered area, which has got the road and everything. Not the blank page, which has a few numbers on it, but the numbered area is already there. Of those, he said we have about 190 available spots in there, and it goes up to about 400, and he and I were trying to read this, 400 and possibly 38, something around there. But he does have some other stuff he references. I think in the middle it gets up in the high 400s. Yeah, 438 in the middle circle. So that gives you an idea what's available, which was a good question Mrs. Duncan had at the beginning. So the third page, just so you understand, is the open area we talked about last time, and I hope you all drove out there. It's a giant square. It's not surveyed. It's not, we don't need it yet. It's an open area. You see numbered on there, he just drew this. This is not platted out. There are no streets on that page with the blank page at the top here. But this was his idea that it should mirror the sexton's idea the other way. And he was not quite sure that it needed to be surveyed or anything. So that would be a question we would need to have because he thought maybe we could draw it up and do it. So
I think given.
Jim said no, that we would definitely have to go through surveying it.
It is considered the sale of real estate.
Exactly.
And it's governed by the Ohio Attorney General. You get the consumer sales practice side of selling and the pre-need selling, and you get the real estate section because you get a deed for your particular
Agreed,
site.
but he's been there a long time, since 1985, and I'm not certain how these other areas, when they came about, particularly the second
I
one.
think we wanna do it right this time.
We will. So I guess going forward, this is all information for you to understand before the meeting tomorrow, because A, we're either taking this on ourselves or be part of a union cemetery, but more info is good. And he's been there since 1985. Right before he started, they used to hire just summer help to mow it. Seems the biggest task is mowing. It's not a huge task. It's only during the grass growing months. But the trimming and things, it is a big task. Once he started in 1985, they decided he could mow it with the help of one other person. So he's been doing it since 1985. He has an assistant who's worked there 6 or 7 years for Waterville Township. This is not their only job. They do house their office there, a little place, and it's also the cemetery office, right at our site in Waterville, in the Waterville Cemetery. And those two do other duties for, which they told me a little bit about the rest of their job, for the township. Most of it's like road plowing related in township areas and a couple other things. But anyway, this was good information because we have quite a few left available. The bigger news, which I emailed you also, I wouldn't forget it all at the time, but he gave me numbers and he only went back a few years, but he has them all if we need them. They are all handwritten. I told him there's probably an app for this nowadays in cemeteries. I said there's probably a program, but in 16, they sold to 3 people, 3 deeds, and that was 5 spaces. That's why I go to the plot being 8 spaces. And nowadays, I asked him the trend, and he said a lot of people are being cremated, so they really don't buy a spot. If they have a spouse who is buried, they'll let them sit it on top of the monument or the stone, and they don't charge them. But they said they used to get requests, like a long time ago, a family would buy a lot of plots or one and have a lot of people in that one. He said now they're getting a request for one at a time most often. like one person passes. So in 16, they only did 3 in Waterville. I don't know, I didn't check White House numbers, because I figured we only kind of cared about this part. But that was 5 spaces in the 3 deed transactions. 17, they did 3 more, 3 spaces. In 18, they've done 2 transactions year to date for 5 spaces. We went ahead and checked into the funerals they had on the calendar, because I asked a lot of questions about numbers, and they had, year to date, they've had 29 funerals in 2018, but that is Waterville plus White House. So then you look further, and 18 of the burials were in the White House Cemetery, 11 were in ours. So that, why I got that number, that's 11 open closes, so to give you an idea. He said back in the old days, 50 was the average number of funerals between all the cemeteries. So you could say half were Waterville or guess. 60 was the highest ever since he's been there quite a while. I asked him this just because I was curious how many people you think are buried here. He pulled out another book for Waterville, and it's handwritten and everything, and it only had 1985 when it started. There were 2,363 people buried, because every time they do one, they put the next number in the book. And as of 2018, we were at 3,186 people. It's just an interesting fact. But I think this map is good for you guys to know going in tomorrow, so you understand if we need a union, if it's busy. We didn't know how busy it was. But I think these are pretty good information. So we'll talk about tomorrow. We don't have to decide anything tonight, but he was very helpful in giving us all this information.
Have they done a tree survey?
They have looked at them. He said most of them are fine in ours. It's nothing huge. I don't know if he actually has anybody come check them every year, every other year or anything, but he hasn't had any big issues right now.
Actually, in our tree commission meeting the other day, that
talked about that, didn't
that
we?
was a topic,
Yeah.
and there is a plan
Are they gonna go
to
look
do
at
a
'em?
survey.
Yeah.
And they were trying to do it yet this season, because of this potential,
Well, he started in 85, 33 years ago. He hasn't had any real big issues, Phil, but there are, as I looked around myself, there are a few big trees. There aren't like hundreds or anything.
Right.
Because part of this is wide open. I don't know if you've driven through there. It's not bad. So,
Does this represent the balance of the
yeah,
ground out there?
and
Okay.
disregard the plat, like the roads,
Yeah.
because that's not done yet. That was just an idea.
This is
he
that
had.
big open space
Yep.
back there.
Which is approximately a lot of it, 5, 6, 7 acres. We had some ideas too, Jim and I. We talked about maybe we don't have to mow it, wildflowers, all kinds of stuff, you know, something pretty. So there are some options there.
Sure.
So, yep. So anybody have any questions on that before tomorrow?
just, so obviously, council will be there,
There.
White House and the trustees from Waterville
In White House?
and White
Yep.
House. And then will Richard Ludwig and company be there, or at
I
least they?
did not ask that. I don't
Okay.
know. Do you know, Jim?
I don't know the answer to that.
If not, we have a lot of the answers, well, only for Waterville. But, yeah, he's the one that holds the key to most of the numbers for everybody. So I don't know what research they've done. Just FYI, if we look at a union, the tax value for, let's see, total tax value, real estate rate was 296 million.
Yes.
For us, Waterville, so you get a gist of it, is 129 million. The township and property, the value's 59 million, and 108 million for White House. Because that'll come into play if we decide to do the union. So, we'll see how it goes.
How old is the sexton?
He would like to retire in 4 years. I did not ask his age. I don't think that's allowed, is it, Mr. Tommy?
It may have been
I'm
discussed in
kidding.
casual
He did mention
conversation.
he was about 4 years away, because he's been there since 85, yeah.
Well,
And the other gentleman's been there 6 or 7 years. And they have talked to the trustees about what's going on a little bit, Mr. Ludwig has.
no,
But that is
that's-
between all of them right now. They're employed by the township.
That's your institutional knowledge going bye-bye.
That's why I went to hang out with him a little bit, so that was good. Yeah,
So they'll have all the numbers for us tomorrow,
I have no idea. No, the trustees did not have all these. That's why I went myself and got them. Because he's the guy that held the numbers, so he's got them, but.
they don't really know, do they?
Nope.
You have to go do your research. It's a lot of handwritten books, so he's very helpful. He'll be able to give them all the numbers. Somebody just needs to sit down. I just sat down with him less than an hour, and we just went through it, so,
Is there a cash balance somewhere?
no idea.
No.
You know, I don't think the township segregates cemetery operations from the rest of the township operations, so,
They don't.
They are now, I think, but they weren't,
yeah.
so. It's a good question, though. Because they were combined in their positions, so they didn't worry about separating it out.
And under the agreement, both our agreement and White House, they collect the money for selling grave sites and opening and closing fees, but that just goes into the township books.
Right.
They can probably tell you how many they opened and closed, and you could do the math, because it's a set fee, so. We didn't go that deep, but he knows how many they opened, and they did 28 so far this year.
But the Union Cemetery won't collect again for plots or graves that have already been sold, I guess that's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's why that number was kind of key, like, where they don't know how many are, you know, purchased, not used, and so, yeah, it's a little interesting.
Yeah, it's a real burden, you know, we have to take on. Yeah, and it's in disrepair, the roads are
Roads are in
There are
bad
some
shape.
road issues.
disintegrating, the
Yep.
roofs are
And I think in
disintegrating.
White House, they're even worse than they are.
I did not drive to White House, so yeah, that'd be something to look at.
I do know the, opening and closing fee, for a grave is $800. On Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, it's $1,200. Cemetery lot is $800. And, for a cremation, the opening and closing fee is $400. Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, it's $500. This has an effective date of 10/16 of 17, so I assume it was less than that
Before.
before October of
Some
17.
easy math on 29 funerals is only 23,200 at 800. I mean, there were probably some $1,200 opening closings, but it's not that much. So, good numbers though, good to know how many you're doing. He said it's been a lot less recently. That could be a lot of factors though. Could be cremation, could be going other places, I don't know, so. Well, it'll be interesting to see if White House knows how busy there's places. Any other comments before we'll head over there? All right, read that on there. Next, we have ordinance 21-18, an ordinance accepting the annexation of the territory proposed for annexation by the petition filed by Philip L. Dombey, agent Andrew and Jennifer Wren on June 1st, 2018, with the Lucas County Board of Commissioners. Our first reading was October 8th. Second readings this evening, October 22nd. Our third reading and legislative action scheduled for November 13th, 2018. Any comments on this? All right, read that next time. Under new business, we have a request for contract time extension for the salt storage building, the Dotson Company, and Mr. Bagdonis has some details on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Contractor for the new salt storage building asked for a 17-day contract time extension, and this is due to a delay in the delivery of steel for the roof trusses. In your packet, there's letters from the contractor, the subcontractor, and engineer, and because of the relatively short period of time that they're asking for, and also we feel that the contractor did diligently pursue this project, and it was really not their fault, so to speak, that there was this delay, so staff is also recommending approval of the request.
Thank you. Do you need a motion from us?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Frye? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 58-18, a resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to file an application and enter into an agreement with the Ohio Public Works Commission for the water meter replacement program. Mr. Bagdonis, give us an update on that.
Yes, thank you. For a number of years now, the city's been in a phased manner replacing water meters with meters that are capable of being read wirelessly, or we refer to those as radio reads. And for this round of applications through the Ohio Public Works Commission, we'd like to apply for a grant and a loan to finish up that replacement and fully implement a radio read program for our customer water meters. This includes purchasing and installing 714 of the radio read meters. And then on the data collection side of that system, we would have 9 data collection antennas and an upgrade of our utility billing software, so that actually instead of every other month and physically driving the streets or walking certain areas, we would be able to wirelessly read the meters once a month, which will add to the accuracy of our billing, and with the estimating of the in-between months, it does lead to some over and under billing that customers get frustrated with. So this will be much more accurate from that respect. The application will be for a $64,380 grant and a $96,570 0% loan. Total project is $555,000. We picked those numbers because this is a very competitive program, and those numbers work to maximize our scoring in applying for the grant. Deadline for applications is November 2nd, and so the resolution would authorize the submission of the grant and loan application.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right. Any questions or discussion on this?
Is this, so this is the last round then? 714 units, or?
Yes,
Other than
we
new-
have,
Other than new construction, I assume.
well, new construction, for quite a few years, we've been installing radio reads on all new construction. In fact, we now put those in pits rather than inside people's houses. But we have 2,500 total meters, and so this 714 would be the last that we need to complete the system for all customers to have those.
So we've been at it for a while, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while. Yep. The list has been around for a while. They've just been working down the customer list. It's the way of the future for sure. Other people are using it, like the gas company, right, and different people.
The gas company converted to all radio read several years ago, and in fact, the contractor that we use to do our meter reading also used to do the gas companies. And the last times we've bid out that work, there's only been one bid. And so I guess that's our other concern, is that there may not be companies that are willing to do the meter reading on a contract basis. Of course, if we don't have this system, then we'll have no choice but to pull that work in-house again.
Yep, it's the wave of the future, collecting it this way. It's an expensive project when you look at the back, but once you put it in, it should be pretty good.
And then
sure
we'll have
there'll be
monthly, everybody will have a monthly reading.
Actual.
Actually,
Actuals
monthly every reading.
instead of,
The other advantage of a system like this is it can also detect when a customer has an inordinate amount of usage, and it will detect it a lot sooner, and we can alert the customer of that before the bill builds up to a very large amount.
we should have had our water department comment on this over there. It will help Melissa, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a good investment. I don't think it's gonna go the other way, where we read them,
Yeah, no.
you know. I don't think people will be able. Yeah, that's great.
What is the contract for the meter readers now? What are we paying?
It's, yeah, around 18,000 a year.
And we used to actually have people read them, so it's come a long way.
Yeah.
All right, we got a motion and second. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 59-18, a resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to execute a contract and a memorandum of understanding with the Lucas County Sheriff's Office authorizing participation in Lucas County OVI Task Force. And Mr. Bagdonis, this is something we do every year. Anything new?
Yes, really nothing new with this. It is something at this time of year we've done probably 10 or 12 years at least.
Thanks. Any questions? Need a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have other information and unscheduled business. we could do the honoring our veterans right now?
If I may, just want to read something that I think we can all relate to it. Veterans Day is the official United States public holiday observed annually on November the 11th that honors military veterans, that is, persons who served in the American Armed Forces. It coincides with other holidays, including Armistice Day and Remembrance Day, celebrated in other countries that mark anniversaries of the end of World War I. Major hostilities of World War I were formally ended the 11th hour and the 11th day, 11th month of 1918, when the armistice with Germany went into effect. The United States previously observed Armistice Day also. The United States holiday was renamed Veterans Day in 1954. So with that said, I'd just like us to remember our veterans that live here in our community and across the country.
I agree, those serving and our veterans, so. Make sure you
Very
remember them
nice.
on that day.
We could make that a resolution, I suppose, couldn't we?
Yeah, that'd be fine. I'll make that resolution then. I'll get it to you.
I'll second.
All right.
Here, here.
Wait, Melissa's like, what do you want to say? The whole thing?
Send it to Melissa.
I'll
Yeah.
send it to you, Melissa.
We'll send it electronically. He has a new thing down there. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Any other information on scheduled business?
I would like to ask about, I think I talked to the mayor about this prior, but Virginia and Dick Dean here in town, if you don't know them, you should. They've been around for, over 51 years, living in the same house. They're at the corner of South Street and River Road. I'd like to move to have a proclamation brought forth for them, just honoring them as good citizens of Waterville and recognizing their achievements and their contributions to our community. So maybe that's something Mary and I can do, because they're our neighbors, and then maybe pick a good date for that, something memorable for them. Is that good?
Come up with some.
Okay, so we
Stuff.
just, bring that to you, and then you'll, okay,
Sounds good.
very good.
I see them every morning
Sitting on their porch. I mean, I don't care what the temperature is, they're out there on their front
Even if
porch.
it's raining.
Waving
Break
to
of
everybody.
dawn. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Keeping tabs on
Everybody
town.
going to work.
Yeah.
They're good.
Just
Very
a
nice.
heads up, I'll get a new hip on 11/14. I put it the day after our meeting. I'll be off for a
How
while.
loyal. If you're 11.
Right.
We wish you well.
Yep, I'll have
Speedy
Kristen and
recovery,
Jim and
Kristen.
coverage, so
Right.
All
we
right.
won't miss a beat, but I'll be down and out for a while.
Oh, they'll have you up the next day, Phil.
Oh, my
You'll be
wife's
riding
gonna-
your motorcycle.
My wife's gonna kill me. She's already told me.
Any other information? All right, if not, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
You think we'd